Donald Trump is in a state of utter collapse and everyone can see it. And boy, does saying that bring a smile to my face, but it's true. Marjorie Taylor Greene can see it and she's pouncing on it. Donald Trump can see it and he's panicking. But worst of all, members of this administration can see it and they are jumping ship, which is why Donald Trump, in a moment of weakness, was just nuked by another shocking resignation after a scandal of his has turned fatal. Everything is going wrong for Donald Trump. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into this shock resignation and how it is rocking the Trump administration, I want to start with something that is really going to make you smile. A little commentary from our friends at The Bulwark, especially Tim Miller, who broke down what this MAGA podcaster was saying about the end for Donald Trump.
It seems to not be doing anything good for anyone. This is the end of the Trump administration. This is the beginning of the lame duck presidency. It's obvious to everyone, even his most ardent supporters show up to the White House, like Laura Ingraham, and she's kind of shocked on what the hell's going on. Now we'll start, 3 years of talking about the ballroom. He will trail off. He will get older. He's adorned the White House in gold. Epstein's going to suck the oxygen out of a lot of this.
It's obvious to Tim Dillon that this is the end of the Trump presidency. And it's always as an overstated statement, but this is kind of how I've felt the last week. I don't want to get over excited. Obviously, Trump could do an insane amount of damage over the next 3 years. And who knows what he will try to pull between now and, when he is term limited, from his, role as president. But in a way that is different from anything since really January 6th. It does feel as if you can see how this thing crashes and burns.
I have played clips on the show from Tim Dillon before, who was the podcaster that Tim and Bill were watching in that clip, because he's MAGA adjacent, right? He supported Trump. He talks about Trump. He's right-leaning. He just had Marjorie Taylor Greene on his show, but this isn't someone who's ride or die for the administration. He's not a cultist. He's not going to fall in line. So it's a good way to measure where MAGA is right now. And I think that the best example of the jumping of ship happening right now is that the same people a few months ago and even a few weeks ago who were wearing Trump 2028 hats are now talking about 2028 in different terms. They're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene or Tucker Carlson or Ted Cruz. There was a report in Axios today about Ted Cruz running for president. Who the fuck wants Ted Cruz to run for president again? That is how bad it has gotten, because Donald Trump's administration has been scandal after scandal and screw up after screw up. And one leading to this shock resignation, if you might remember, was the devastating flooding that happened in Texas a few months ago because of the negligence of this administration. Trump was asked about it here. We have to get this context before we see this recent reporting.
Marissa Atmas here with CBS News Texas. Several families we've heard from are obviously upset because they say that those warnings, those alerts didn't go out in time, and they also say that people could have been saved. What do you say to those families?
Well, I think everyone did an incredible job under the circumstances. This was, I guess Christie said, a 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000 years. And I just have admiration for the job that everybody did. There was just admiration. Only a bad person would ask a question like that, to be honest with you. I don't know who you are, but only a very evil person would ask a question like that. I think this has been heroism. This has been incredible, really, the job you've all done. It's easy to sit back and say, oh, what could have happened here or there,
Donald Trump's response to his failed response and being questioned about it, of course, will always be to attack reporters. And if you remember, this is the same time when there was a lot of Epstein controversy really starting to bubble up. And when Donald Trump was asked about Jeffrey Epstein, he gave that famous line, "Are you really still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? That guy is long gone. We have to focus on Texas." And then, of course, Donald Trump never focused on Texas. He actually went at a time in which him doing so was extracting resources away from communities that needed them. He never apologized and never admitted that, of course, the funds that the Biden administration sent for emergency preparedness, which weren't used by the Republican and officials in that county, that was a mistake. They never admitted that. But now we are seeing that it is a mistake. The admission really comes in the latest shock resignation that is taking place in this administration, showing the constant screw up, showing the constant scandal, showing that everything is falling apart for Donald Trump, and it comes right here.
We have breaking news. The Washington Post reports the head of FEMA, David Richardson, has resigned after a very rocky 6 months on the job. I want to bring back MS Now reporter Laura Barone-Lopez at the White House. What have you learned, Laura?
So right now, Chris, we don't have this confirmed from the White House or from the Department of Homeland Security. I have, though, been texting with a number of FEMA employees, and because over the course of his 6-month tenure, Richardson's tenure, who formerly served in the Marine Corps, it has been a rocky tenure, and FEMA employees have not necessarily been supportive of him atop the role as acting director of FEMA. He made news when at the beginning he came in and held an all-hands meeting with FEMA employees and essentially said that he and he alone spoke for FEMA. He said that that he was the one who was fully in charge and that he wanted people to be paying attention to him directly. But after the floods in Texas over the summer and other emergencies that were facing the agency, FEMA employees have essentially felt as though he was an absent leader and not someone who is necessarily as hands-on as he said that he was going to be at the beginning. And that this is an agency, Chris, I think it's important to add, is one that the Trump administration and multiple people from the president on down to Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary, have said from the beginning that they were looking to dismantle. They have been looking to dismantle the FEMA agency since they came into office, Chris.
Laura Barone-Lopez, thank you. President Trump and his top economic advisor.
Just in, Trump's FEMA chief resigns after only 6 months. Now, there's a lot that I have to say on this, but let's just go back to last year, and almost this time last year, when we saw a devastating storm rip apart Florida, Georgia, but especially North Carolina, in places in which Donald Trump has still given no attention to after claiming that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were neglecting certain communities because of political reasons, which is, of course, what Donald Trump started his administration doing, saying that he wasn't going to give Gavin Newsom all the funds that he needed, all the disaster relief he needed. Republicans were saying the same thing to respond to the wildfires in California. That is how Donald Trump started his administration, and he continued it by continuing to ignore communities in crisis. They've never cared. But what Donald Trump said when he went to North Carolina and literally took the rubble and the bricks that had broken off of houses, off of stores and churches, when he built himself, remember that, a little brick podium out of the rubble? He's like, well, I don't care, but I just want the nice little imagery. I'm going to rip apart people's houses. But so spot on for Trump. And he said, this is political. Joe Biden is not caring about you. Kamala Harris isn't caring about you. They're not here. They're not addressing this crisis because it's political. And of course, Donald Trump also, in his first term, rejected requests for disaster aid. So that's not new. But this guy began his administration by saying, let's dismantle FEMA. And now we are seeing this resignation because of the work that has been done to dismantle FEMA, an agency that will increasingly become more important as we ignore the changing climate, as severe weather systems get more dangerous, as natural disasters get more deadly. Donald Trump is ripping those things apart. Just think about all the life lost because of Donald Trump's administration, as they have shelled out billions, trillions of dollars in tax cuts for the wealthiest people in the world. And on that note, one of the most impactful clips, I think, really to sum this all up, came today with Jim McGovern fighting with a MAGA Republican who wanted to condemn socialism. And what he said, you have to see.
You know, I just have some yes or no questions that I hope to get you to just say if these things are socialist policies or not. So let's start. Socialist or not? Medicare.
I think it's I'll give you a yes or no answer. That is on the side of state control of health care, so I'd say it could be considered socialist.
Oh, wow, okay. Social Security.
No.
What about SNAP, the food assistance program?
No.
How about VA Health or the VA Home Loan Program? Is that socialist?
I don't think so. I think that's a commitment we made following the admonition of President Lincoln to pay benefits to those who wore the uniform and served in uniform.
Fire departments?
No.
National parks?
No.
Public schools?
No.
How about the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which Republicans are refusing to extend?
Well, again, I think the state has far too much control in health care dominating it, and therefore I think the health care programs, as a general matter, could be considered state control and therefore on the side of socialism.
So, of all, okay, so of all those, I mean, you kind of hint that the tax credits might be, and Medicare, you mentioned, might be considered a socialist program. So, is this resolution condemning Medicare?
No, it's condemning socialism.
Yeah, according to the bill, it says Congress announces socialism in all its forms. And you just said that Medicare could be considered a socialist program.
Yes, some people could consider it a too much state control. That's right.
Okay. Let me ask you a few more. Socialist or not, President Trump's proposal to use tariff revenue from his trade war to bail out farmers to the tune of billions of dollars.
I don't think that's socialism.
That's redistributing kind of.
Well, I don't.
I mean that's like a. Well, whatever. I mean, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yes. Sir. How about the Trump administration's $9 billion stake in chip manufacturer Intel?
Well, I didn't support the CHIPS Act by the Biden administration. I'm not a big fan of industrial policy on that scale, personally.
So that's a yes for that?
Well, I wouldn't call it socialism.
Republicans hate socialism, except their Medicare, their Medicaid, their Social Security. And don't forget, when disaster strikes their home, then they want the government bailout. But it is not a bailout. The government should be keeping people safe, should be feeding people, should be housing people, should be building roads and bridges and keeping our water safe. It's not socialism, it's our job. And so good on Jim McGovern for making that distinction clear, calling out the bullshit. We are going to continue to on this show, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.